Hello, today we will try to create a new project with Unity. I will show you how you can add some models and create some scenario, and of course this is part of your first exercise, so you should create another scenario using some asset that you can download. So let's start. Okay, when you actually start Unity, you have project and learn. If you go here, you will have the basic tutorial that you should have already done during the first lecture. So this will tell you a bit about how you actually interact a bit also with Unity. So let's go here and create a new project. Okay, so here you can specify the project name. Let's call it my scenario, and then here it's like if you want to use 3D or 2D. Analytics, we don't need unit analytics. Okay, so let's create this project. You can also add this asset package, but we'll see how we can add afterwards. Okay, so now Unity takes a while to initialize the project and start up all the environment. Okay, here we are. So this is the main Unity window. When you open an empty project, you have initially you have a main camera and the directional light and nothing else, right? This is the basic. Obviously, you're gonna change it, and you will see. So here you see we have our project window. You can also change the layout. So this is this one, right? Maybe I like also this one, or this is the default one. There is also this one, which is sometimes very good, but then you have to shift between game and scene. For example, here you can put in one column layout. So this is pretty nice, right? It's called tall. It's nice for editing scene. For animation, sometimes some other scenario is better. Okay, so you see the hierarchy, the project, and the inspector, right? Plus you have a scene and game. So here you actually see all the things you put in your scene and you are able to edit. For example, light, and here is the simulation of the game, which starts with the default camera that you have here, right? If you click here in the scene that you created, you actually see all your instantiated objects, right? And plus, the inspectors allow you to change the properties of all the elements you select here from the sample scene. Okay, so let's start and create some sort of nice scenario, and then it's up to you to go on and make it cooler. So, for example, here you have this window. Here you can have um, all the different tools. Let's create a terrain, right? So you go to game object, 3D object, and you create a terrain, right? So it's just a basic thing. So now you see like the terrain is here. So you want maybe to visualize in a better way because it's like down. So what you can do is like you can use this one, this pan that moves up, right? So, or you can actually you can also use the wheel. Press the wheel of the mouse is the same, right? And if you actually use the wheel of the mouse, you will zoom out, zoom in, right? And also if you press the right button of the mouse, you can rotate the point of view, right? So here is the terrain, right? And yeah, and let's try to put in a position that it's nice and we can edit, right? Maybe this is a bit okay. Sorry, like this. Okay, nice. So in the terrain you have several tools, right? So there is also the video that I posted that it's goes more in deep, but just for the beginning to give you a bit of confidence how to create and to manipulate Unity object. So also if you press here, you come back to one of the view from the top, as seen from the Y, right, from the X and from the 0. Obviously you can still come back, right, to that original side. Okay, so let's try to see what happened if I start editing. So have you seen when I added the terrain? So this terrain has been created here, right? And then I can call here, I can change the name to, just in order you to understand, to keep your project well coordinated, you can call this my terrain, right? And here you can actually uh, take this one. Okay, this is the asset that we created, is the kind of class that we use to instantiate the terrain, right? Okay, nice. So let's try to modify this, right? So now what you can do, it's like you can actually change the so here you can also change the kind of rendering mode. Here it's wireframe. You see, like, it's actually a bit dark, but you can see here there are triangles, right? Or shaded wireframe, or there is shaded, sorry, and shaded wireframe. Right here you can see both, so you can see the triangles that compose our terrain more or less. And okay, so we have learned a bit about something. So let's try to modify the terrain. So you have these tools here, right? So if you select a painting tool, so the first one is one that allows you to rise or to lower the terrain, right? So here you have several, this is the brush size, obviously like a drawing program, and this is the opacity, so how much this it's change the actual uh, the current terrain. And when you press, right, you see like you're gonna change this, right? Let's try to, and you can see like Unity always like try to change and recompute all the shadows, right? So here we create some terrain. So yeah, so maybe this is too height, and yeah, I can actually reduce later on. I show you. Okay, so let's say this is a terrain, right? And but I can also add some other kind of noise, for example, like this here, in order to have some sort of high frequency terrain. This is kind of cool. Or you have another kind of noise here, for example. Okay, anyway, so just to show you, and then you actually have to go yourself and model for your scenario. So there is also this smooth, that for example if it's too high, so you can still smooth a bit and reduce the height. So here you see better, yeah, you can, here you see like slowly is removing and is smoothing with the rest, right? Or in case you can actually slant terrain to a certain size, and here it's actually changing the terrain to the size stamp height, right? Like to establish. So it actually change and move all the terrain up to a certain level. You see the preview. Okay, here you can set the height. For example, you say I want to set to 0. So if you press, right, slowly come back to 0, right? And but it's not super nice, so let's smooth a bit, and then you can actually have whatever you want, right? Okay, so this is the basics to create the geometry, but what you can do, you can also associate the color, because it is pretty whitish. So, and this is nice because it allows you to learn how you can organize things in your project, right? So, okay, let's try to add some texture. So I downloaded some texture here. So into downloads, I have sand, stone and grass. So I take all of them and then I put into my let's put it here to my scene, right? So actually if I want to do something very, if I want to organize my project in a nice way, I can create a folder here, and I call it texture, right? And I put it here. So actually these are some kind of texture that model grass, sand, and stone, but you can find your texture online. It's an image, right? And it's everything, it's fine. And if you don't want to use these and want to create some kind of other scenario, it's fine. So whatever you can do, post it online and make it cool, make it nice. Okay, make it complicated and eventually bigger than what I'm creating now with this tutorial. So now you can actually want to paint this, right? So select again your terrain, right? You can click here or you can click here on the hierarchy, right? And then on the inspector you will see all the different properties of the terrain. So what you can do now, you can like paint texture, right? First of all, you want to create a new layer, and let's put the sand at the beginning, right? And you see like now it's all with sand, right? However, you cannot see really the texture because you need to zoom a lot, right? And you can sort of see now, but it's have to be really close. So depending on the scale of your map, but just for sake of clarity now, because I want to show you how it works. So now if you select your layer, right, and you actually can change a lot of properties. You can add a normal map and a mask map, which I will explain you later on the meaning of that in the next lectures, but so far don't take care about this. Metallic and smoothness, we'll see when we see how you can model material, but we can change the tiling size. For example, the bigger it is, so the bigger you will see the pattern on the sand, right? So now you can still small, let's put it to 50 by 50. So yeah, and now you see like now you can see the sand, right? You can see the sand. If you just put one to 100 and the other to 50, what happens is like it stretch the image in one direction, right? So I usually, my advice to put both the same sides, otherwise you're going to deform the image in one of the direction. Okay, I think it's pretty nice. Maybe I think it's okay, right? So let's try to add another layer, right? So this is fine. I'm fine with that. So let's create another layer. What I can do is like create layer, and I can put a bit of grass around. Okay, and also for this I think I have to increase the sides of the tilings, like put 50 by 50, then we'll see. Okay, so then what I can do, like I can get this tool, paint the texture, right? Select this one, select the kind of tool that I want to use to paint my grass around, and you can also set the size and the opacity, right? And then you can go and paint, right? You can paint your grass around here, right? And yeah, it's interesting, right? So you have this sand and this grass. It looks pretty natural, right? You can change the size. You see, like every time you change, like you need to change the compute the normal, right? Recompute the illumination, because you can eventually put some normal map and change the normal, so it has to recompute. But this is another story. And yeah, and maybe I want to make a road here, right? Pass through here. So I can edit terrain layers and add another layer. Sorry, and create a layer. Select the stone. Take the stone. Maybe get this one to get the road, right? And maybe I want to do also this one a bit bigger, because otherwise the tiles will be very small. I don't know, let's put 100 by 100. You can actually customize as you want, and you can actually download your texture, right? And if you click here, you will see, right? It's pretty cool. You have this road. So here you created your nice environment, right? And you can actually go and create also with some industrial texture and do other things. So okay, so we have the ground, right? Maybe a bit more of grass here. But anyway, so that's fine for that. I mean, you can refine as you prefer. So now I want to put some trees, right? So if you actually go to the asset store, you can put Windows Asset Store, right? It creates another window here, and here you can see all the assets that you have, and some of them are free and you can download and use it, right? For example, you can go here and it's fine because this course is not about modeling, so you can get the assets. This course about animation, creating scenarios, so you can grab whatever model and animation you can find here. Of course, you need to create your own application, right? Not just get a final, complete one. So, okay, so let's go into vegetation, right? And here I have something cool. Let's see. There is something free, for example, this one, right? There is much complex one, right? But so far, I think this is, like you see, there is a lot, right? A lot of, and then you can continue. There are a lot. Here is, for example, all these one are palms, right? Maybe you can, let's use this one, right? Free trees. It looks pretty simple, right? You click it, and I have already downloaded. You need to log in with your name and just click import when you download it. I already downloaded. So you click import and then you open this window, right? Here you can select what you want to import for your project. I suggest to select all of them, right? And then click import. Okay, cool. So now if you go back to your scene, right? Under assets, you have these new windows called Dart Artisan, which is the guys who did these assets, right? And if you go here, you have these free trees, right? And then you have like textures, right? Scenes. This is a demo scenes that shows you how these trees are placed. You can actually get inspiration. Let me save my scene. And then you have prefabs, okay, and meshes. Meshes are just the 3D mesh without any texture, right? You can see it here. It's a bit small, but you can see. There is also the preview here, right? If you can make it bigger, you can see these are the mesh, and plus the texture, you create these prefabs. So a prefabs is something that it's already ready to use, and you can put in your project, right? So let's try, right? So I have my terrain, I have this palm tree, and then I can actually let's put this on top of my terrain, right? Okay, so you see, like, I added on top of the terrain, so that means like this one will be a child of my terrain, which is a good thing sometimes, because if you change the position of the terrain, the palm tree will change as a consequence. But you see, it's kind of small, right? You can see it here. It's barely you can see. So it depends about the scale again, about you want to create your scenario. But here you can actually select your palm tree in scale, like, I don't know, want it bigger, 10 by 10 by 10, right? And then you start seeing your palm tree, right? But it's in a very bad position. So what I can do is, like, I can select the palm tree and move it, right? So you remember we have seen this, right? If you click this, there's also some hotkey that makes the work easier. So I move it here, then I rotate my point of view, right? And then I move a bit somehow here, right? Okay, maybe let's move a bit here. What I can do, I can also maybe rotate a bit, right? Like this, move, right? And now it's cool, I think, right? It's pretty nice. You see, like it has the shadow also of this cast shadow. You see how integrated in the final map. Obviously, this I did in a rush. You can refine a bit this scenario, and also what you can do is like you can duplicate this one, right, and then you can move it, right, and this point it's actually inherit all the properties of the scaling that you already did. Maybe you want to rotate differently, right, and move in a different position, right, be sure that it's on the ground. Okay, nice. So and you also have other kind of tree, like I don't know, this one, right, and then also his one you want to scale 10 by 10, right, yeah, and that's fine, right. So this is another kind of tree, and anyway, so you can actually put whatever you want, and you can create your cool scenario, and you learn how to interact. So another thing that it's maybe interesting, I want to show you, we finish it. It's like, okay, here I have this um, scenario I created, but when I go to the game, let me save, right? So when I go to the game, actually the camera is in some very bad position. So I can set the camera. So actually you can take the camera and set the position and translation manually, but it's very tedious. So what I suggest is like whenever you have your nice point of view, right, you can actually select your camera and do this is very important. You're gonna use it a lot. Game object aligned with view, right, and then your camera is aligned with here, and then when you make a game you have your nice point of view. And eventually if you want to actually show you all the scenario, so in the terrain also you have another tool which is create neighbors terrain, right, and then you can actually add some neighboring terrains, right, and continue, right, and create it, so that it's nice, right. Obviously this one you see like it's not smooth because you actually created these bumps. Here you have to create the bumps also on the other side. Here you have only the sand, and it's up to you to create a nice terrain. So if you go to the game and you take a screenshot and then you post it to the uh, discussion board, and you can create a very nice terrain, and you can use also different kind of assets, right, try to make it realistic and try to get confident with the scene. So the last thing I want to show you is like this directional light. So we'll talk about the lights in another lecture, but you can see like if you click here and you press F, it should bring you wherever this object is. I don't see it. Sorry. Okay, he's here. Let's say like I move it a bit. So this directional light doesn't have the position, but I want to show you. So if you want to have something like here, right, and you want to go and get a view of this, just click here, press F, right, on the scene view, and then it brings like in front of this palm tree or in front of this other, right. So we have the light, right. So I want to show you, I mean, this is not a point light, it doesn't change on the position, but you can rotate the light and it actually change the shadows, right. So it takes a while, and then it's actually the computing, you see, this update the shadow as a consequence, and now the shadows are in different directions, right, and you can rotate again, right, or rotate in this direction, yeah, and it actually now it's screwed a bit because I put it in the wrong direction, but anyway, yeah, now it's updating the current light. Okay, here you can rotate your light and change the position of the shadow as a consequence, or the illumination. It's recomputed all the time. Okay, that's all, and have fun with your editing.